ready and follow-up monitoring to see if we're successful with that budget. So you have questions?
Any questions of Sophie on this one? Councillor Williams?
Yeah, I noticed we've got a group in Coburg, particularly about some of the river qualities and all that going on here. Is this group, I don't know who this group is, but is this group working with people like that? Because I noticed you've got here some about watercress improvements, all that drama, and then you've got some other scenarios with watercress being sprayed and killed off in places, and are the right and left hands working together on these projects to know what's happening? Some of our rivers are dead, and I know this is meant to be improving that, but nothing worse than spending a lot of money on a part of a river, improving it, and all of a sudden it gets sprayed or something happens to that river. And so the question is, are they all working together on that project?
So definitely watercress is one of those issues where there's no right answer or wrong answer, and there are different opinions, very much like herbicide usage and different opinions there. But if there's watercress present, it's likely that there's water in that waterway, and so we wouldn't be undertaking spraying unless there was, for example, a huge traffic management issue. So along Tram Road, once there was the issue where we couldn't do mechanical clearing like we usually would because of the traffic management that would be required, the time it would take to along Tram Road with so much traffic. But generally we've managed to carry out mechanical clearing watercress, and what we've done in the Drainage Maintenance Management Plan, what I intend to do to elaborate on when it's reviewed, is with watercress, there are particular areas where people want to keep watercress. So the immediate areas below springs, where the water quality is higher. So actually designating these areas and saying these are the areas where we're going to collect watercress, other areas it's causing flooding issues, so knowing which areas we to keep it and which areas not to. And so it's like it's not a black and white answer of we don't want to keep it or do want to keep it. It's a where is it appropriate? Where is it places that we really want to collect it from?
So the question is, will you be working with that particular Kaipoi preservation group, if you could call it, I'm not quite certain what they're called, but protecting the waterways around, because I think this in conjunction of what they're trying to do, and it would improve their thoughts on what we're trying to do as well. And I'd just like to see them invited to correspond or to know what's happening, and this is the perfect one, I think, to go hand in hand with them. So will that group be contacted to see if they can work together and get their thoughts on it as well, because they're the ones that are on the ground all the time looking at some of these problems, and so maybe Jared might be able to give a indication, because I think Jared knows what we're doing.
Yeah. So I think based on the recent meeting we had with Environment Canterbury, waimakariri District Council and the Kaipoi River Protection Group, I can't remember their name. Preservation Society. I think it was pretty clear from that meeting that actually everyone wants to achieve the same thing, which is good, and that is water quality and improved biodiversity and habitat in the Kaipoi River in particular. It's the focus of that group. This money is on a variety of waterways throughout the district, going through to the Interiors Valley, which is the upper Ashley River catchment. But there's also some here that is within the tributaries of the Kaipoi River. So this, I think, certainly aligns with. So there's a good alignment there that all of these things are looking to improve the habitat for fish life as well as improving the water quality. So they should be happy with what we're doing. I mean, certainly not. I know they do have a particular focus on herbicides, but that's and They also have a focus on our wastewater treatment. So you know that's what they did talk to that, but they certainly made it clear that they're you know that's areas where they consider there's an impact on water quality. This doesn't necessarily target those two things, but it's certainly areas where we think there's going to be water quality benefits. So I think in principle we're quite well aligned with them on this, and yeah, there's already been a commitment that we do both Waimakariri Council and the Environment Canterbury willing to work with that group in a positive way, and so this that you know you can take it for granted that staff will be pursuing that and working with them. You know, some of these projects, look, we'll be quite happy to let them know what we're doing here, and they may be interested in some of them. So yeah, no problems at all.
Any other further questions? Councillor Meddings is happy to move to receive this recommendation, seconded by Councillor Redmond. Councillor Meddings.
Thank you, and again, Sophie, thank you. I think that you've done a very good job in looking at our previous budget allocations, what was working, what wasn't, what's been slowed down, what needs to be brought forward, and reallocating it appropriately to continue doing some good work here. And I do note that you've got a good spread throughout the district. You've got general, some general things. You've got some budget allocated to Lees Valley, around Waikaku, Southbrook, Townsend Fields, Northbrook, and I'm not clear if the reallocation of the on-the-ground projects in the Canberra Tiny Fraud Silver Stream that's going to be retargeted to Mahina Kai is still in that catchment or not. Is that the case?
I believe it was. This is the 1.27 recommendation.
Yes.
I think it is still within the Canberra Tiny Farm. Yeah, from top of my head, yeah. It is, yeah. So just to focus more on the hanging car projects. Yeah.
And even so, that is also going to improve the water quality. If Mahina Kai can be grown and taken there, then that means the water quality is good. So I do resonate with what Mr. Cleary has said, and that this is all going towards the same goal that we share with a lot of different parties. So I think you've done a really good job at the reallocations here of this budget, and I'm happy to support it. Thank you.
Councillor Redmond.
Thank you. Yes, I endorse those comments. This is just really a reallocation of funding into what is achievable, and I think it's clearly set out in Table 1, the rationale for the changes. So thank you for putting that together. So.
Any other comments? Thank you, Councillor Williams.
Yeah, thank you, Zed. I'd appreciate that group being contacted because I was at that meeting and they weren't just talking about the Cam River. The Avon River was even mentioned, and other rivers all around the whole New Zealand are concerned about deteriorating. So I think they'd be very to know and even help, because they've indicated they're not a lobby group for what have you, they're a help group. They want to help as best they can, and some of those people have got some serious years of local knowledge of our rivers and estuaries and etc. So that would be very good. Thank you.
Thank you. So all those who wish to approve of the recommendation and receive this report, please say aye.
Aye.
Yes, carried. Thank you. Thank you, Sophie. Thank you for all your work. And now we go to 5.4, which is Engineering Code of Practice Update, Stormwater Design Standards. God, I know it's Kelly. Hi, Kelly. Thank you. Project Delivery Manager, Kelly, Waters Manager. Yep, there we go. That's what you are.
Good morning. So Colin puts in his apologies. He's had another commitment, so I'm presenting this report this morning. So this report seeks approval of changes to our engineering code of practice on our stormwater design standards. So you may recall at the end of last year in December, we had a workshop with the committee and presented options for increasing our design standards. So what we're looking at doing is increasing the design standard for the primary system. It's currently set at a 5-year return period, increasing that to a 10-year. And for our secondary system, changing it from a 50-year and increasing that to a 100-year. There's also some additional text included in the changes, and that is around clarifying our requirements and expectations that when a developer is submitting, how they are achieving this compliance with these design standards, exactly what we want them to be considering and submitting to us. So this change is actually, we believe it's warranted because it's consistent with the New Zealand standard 4404 for land development. It also aligns us with the standards that most other councils in New Zealand have. So it is variable, but most have a 10-year and 100-year level of service. It's proposed that these changes will come into effect from the time they are adopted, but there is some, during that implementation phase, there is some discretion that's assigned to the General Manager of Utilities and Roading and also General Manager of Planning, Regulation and Environment, because there are some developments where the stormwater management area has already been constructed by an earlier stage of that development, so that would have been designed to the 5 and 50 year, and yet there will be other stages that get approved in the future that will connect in. So just over the implementation phase of moving to these new standards, there is some discretion there to be applied by those two managers. So happy to take any questions.
Just a clarification, really, perhaps a suggested change to the recommendation. So recommendation E, talks about nodes. I wonder if we actually should have a recommendation that is, so it could stay as it is, but we have a supplementary one that says authorises the General Manager of Utilities and Roading and General Manager of Planning and Regulation of the Environment to apply discretion in the granting of consents through the implementation phase.
So, can you say you would like that wording changed?
I think we leave E as is because that gives a full explanation and put an additional F, so then F becomes G and G becomes H. So the F would be, like I said.
Could you just
Taylor, did you capture that? Do you want to read that?
If you could just confirm.
Okay.
could you confirm what you, how you'd like
So
that
you've
worded?
got General Manager.
Authorises, so it starts authorises.
That's an important word.
The General Manager of Utilities and Roading and General Manager of Planning and Regulation and Environment to apply discretion in granting and approval of consents through the implementation of these changes. So just to expand on that, we will need to do that because there'll be a number of consents that have already been issued at stage developments that we'll have to work through with the applicant how they apply this. So if it's a fresh new consent, it's going to be pretty simple. They tend to comply with this. For anything that's a bit has already had early stages of product, we'll have to consider whether this can be applied in full or whether there needs to be some sort of discretion.
Councillor Redmond.
Just
Councillor Redmond, please. Thank you. Sorry.
Thanks, Gerald. I wondered whether rather than implementation, it's more a transitional.
Yes, yeah, transition word, yeah, transition.
And make it quite clear that it doesn't apply to new consents, but only where there are staged developments in the sort of disjuncture.
Yeah, okay. So we could use the word transition, and for the end of that sentence, say where there are where there are existing staged consents
We're currently processing.
or consents that are currently in process.
The term that's used in recommendation E is multi-stage developments. If that catches it.
I think it's a good. Now, Ted, would you like to read back?
Read back. Okay.
Okay, so change the word to transitional and use words applies to multi-staged development consents.
I think that's fine, thanks, Kate.
I'll confirm before.
Are we clear on that? Are we happy?
Can the whole thing be read, please? Because
Yeah.
I had a question on part of that, and now
Okay.
it's muddy waters.
Okay, could you read that?
Is that the E1 you want me to do?
Yes. It will be
The new.
the new
Notes some new description proposed to the requirements.
new E.
I'm happy to read out what I've got down for Kate to check what she's got. So the new F being authorises the General Manager of Utilities, Road and Roading and General Manager of Planning, Regulation and Environment to apply discretion in granting of multi-stage consents through the transition of these changes.
You happy with that, Jerry?
Yes, I'm
You read the word existing multi-stage.
Yes, I think that'd be a good addition.
You got that, Kate?
Yep, the existing stage already underway.
Right. Okay.
It was not really existing, it's underway, it's not finished.
Sort of, there's the word discretion in there. So there'll be no discretion in 12 months' time. Is that what we're talking about? So what I'm talking about is discretion. We could have a developer in 12 months' time do something here because we might have discretion. Saying, oh, yeah, that plan might be okay without doing that. So, you know.
Okay, I think we always do. We wouldn't be able to function if we weren't exercising discretion anyway on the code of practice. It's just being clear that we do need to. I wouldn't like to put a finite time on it. Some of these developments actually span multiple years. And I can assure you that both myself and the General Manager of Planning and Regulation don't take this kind of thing lightly. And so we would always be looking to implement the new changes, and we would expect that if a developer wishes to, for us to exercise that discretion, they would have to demonstrate to us that they're achieving it. So that's what we mean about it. You could make it more, you could try and confine it more, that's fine. At the end of the day, our expectation is this is the new standard and this should be applied. It would only be exceptions where I would imagine only we realistically go well down a pathway of or have already got physical constraints and works that are constructed in an early part of the development that would be fine.
Thank you, Councillor Meanings.
So just want to clarify, so the discretion that we're talking about is just to be exercised for development that is underway right now. Whether that be multi-part where stage A and B have already been built and C has been consented and D is in the works, or just those ones that are underway, because my understanding here is that if we approve this, we're actually saying that from this time, any new as at this date, unapproved development proposals will have to comply with this code of practice within current season. So, okay, so the discretion is solely for those that are already in the system, is that right?
Yes, where, and the main reason for that is where there is already infrastructure constructed to the old design standard, it doesn't make sense to then require either that to be go and upgraded or for only one part of the development to meet the standard.
I think we already just heard about a situation like that with Sophie's last report about the older developments and Wrangler that don't have stormwater SMAs and whatnot with the management plan. You can't really retrofit those things, so I understand that. Thank you.
Councillor Whelan?
Thanks for the report, Kelly. It's been eagerly awaited, given recent storm events. You mentioned other councils have the higher standard that we're proposing to move to. When did those councils change or adopt those higher standards?
A lot of them would have actually had higher standards for quite a long period of time. I believe the design standard came in 2010 for the NZS 4404. But even prior to that, some councils would have had a 10-year primary, a 100-year secondary level of service.
Some of those would be at least 30 years that had that standard of 10 and 100.
So why have we had a lesser standard up until now, if this new standard has been out there?
I'm not sure of the history of it. I actually believe it may have actually been related, the 50-year may have been tied in with the building code in the past. But even now the building code has moved on for, they now look at the 10-year for their primary system, and they do look at the 50-year, but also the 100-year from a flooding perspective as well. I'm not too familiar with the history, but it has been variable how the standards that various councils have adopted, and it has been aligning with different design standards and codes that are national codes as well.
So would you say if we adopt this, it will bring us into best standards, best practice in this area?
Correct, yes. So that we are aligning with the New Zealand standard 4404 for land development. There is also a proposed national engineering design standard. So Bill 3 that is we submitted on last week for the water services bill. Part of that is actually giving responsibility to Tamata Arawai, the water regulator, to publish national engineering design standards. So the draft or proposed version of those that we have seen also has the 10-year primary, 100-year secondary system.
And finally, do we know what our neighbouring councils have done in this area?
Yes, so if you look at figure 1 on page 131, you can see that while Christchurch currently has a 550 similar to us, Selwyn and Hurunui both have a 10-year. Selwyn has a 100-year for their secondary system, but Hurunui has a 50-year. So you can see it is quite variable, but what we are doing is aligning ourselves with the majority of councils which have a 10-year for their primary and 100-year for their secondary systems.
Right, thanks for that. I had trouble understanding that tables. Thank you.
Councillor Williams?
Yeah, I just need to get my head around this a wee bit better. So this is not going to affect any developers that have actually had their plans in and hasn't been finalised and consented. So that's where that discretion will come into those particular developers, is that correct? Or what I'm trying to get at, some developers at the moment have put in quite a reasonable amount of work into what they want to do to development. Some of the drainage systems and all that drama have probably already been passed, but they haven't actually got their consent in for doing the whole project, so it's not going to put those developers back to square one with new drafting new drainage plans and upsetting their whole development. Is that correct?
I can't give you that promise, no. I think we would have to look at the specifics because there may be people who are currently working on developments and they're not lodged with us. I think in those cases we are going to upset some of them, and that that's always going to be a challenge when you're implementing a change. But certainly if someone's got a stage development, they've already had infrastructure approved that's been sized based on the old standard for new sections that are coming in, certainly we'll be using discretion there. I certainly can't say to you we're not going to upset some, because they may have said we're planning to lodge something with you in a year's time or something. We've been planning on that. And I think in that case, that will be a situation where we go, look, that's unfortunate. This does happen with people with changes to standards over time. Building code's a good example of that. So I certainly can't give you that promise. But we'll certainly be conscious of it, and it will depend on how far through the process is, how much discretion we could apply. So I think that answers your question. Certainly, we can never give a promise that we won't upset developers about this, but we're very conscious of that effect.
So my concern, and I don't know if I should name a particular
No, you shouldn't.
one there that consent's sort of near enough to be there, but nothing's been passed officially yet. So here, there's...
Look, you're describing a dilemma that we're going to have, and we'll have to work through it. I certainly don't want to discuss any individual applications that we can be inappropriate. But I can give you the assurance that exactly the sorts of things, and that's why we need to have that discretion that we need to take into consideration.
Councillor Redmond.
Just one further comment from the County of Durham. If an application has been lodged but not processed, and we had this issue with immediate legal effect to some of the provisions in the district plan, what is the position going to be if through lack of time and staff resourcing an application has not been approved and conditions issued, but it's in our system? Will that be under the new provisions or the old provisions?
So I can't answer that exactly for you. So it depends what it's when you say application. And at the moment, let's not forget, we've got a whole lot of plan changes coming through the system. And certainly for them, the answer would be no. They would, when they come in with the actual application for the subdivision, that's when we would be starting to consider it. So I think if anyone's got a plan change, it's very unlikely that we would give them more discretion. If someone has I've got right to the end of the extreme, we've already approved stages of their development and certain infrastructure, then it's almost certain that we would allow them consenting. Did you want to jump in?
I just might be able to assist on some of that, but possibly not all of it. I know that when we did the calculations for the future yield coming out of the district plan, so all the new subdivisions counting for 10, 20, 30, 40 years, the stormwater reserves we assessed for those are far higher than what the updated code practice practice. So I would say that the scenario of a developer being put out probably doesn't occur for most of the subdivisions that we've assessed for the district plan. But bearing in mind there might be a case we don't know about, which I think is what Jared was getting at. But I think the risk of someone being put out is quite low based on what I've certainly looked at throughout the process of putting recommendations on the district plan.
Well, I guess my question is, where an application is lodged but not approved, what criteria applies? The increased standard or the existing standard at the time it was lodged? I'm not worried about applications that aren't even here yet. That'll be quite clear.
I'll jump in. That's exactly what we need the general managers to have discretion. So it'll depend on the development and the site they're on, how advanced they are through the application, have they already had a request for further information, have they already responded, are they days away from getting consent, or are they weeks away from getting consent? So there's a kind of sliding scale of how advanced they are, which area they're in, and whether there's a possibility they could reasonably upsize. I don't think our intention is to be unreasonable. We always work with developers collaboratively, but there's definitely a sliding scale. I can think of a few where we are processing their application. Some may be able to pragmatically step up to the higher service level, some may not. So that's exactly the discretion area.
Well, I thought the discretion may have covered where the old rules don't match the new rules in a stage development, for example. But the discretion wouldn't be over what happens to an application already in the process. I mean, we're changing the rules during the game if we say that.
So I think that's why we're asking for discretion, so we can manage those matters. And it's just really difficult to speculate on a particular set of circumstances, but the sorts of circumstances you're describing are where we need to apply discretion.
Well, could this committee give you guidance by saying that any applications in the system will satisfy the standard at the time they were lodged?
I think I'd be very careful with that, because that's a very broad definition. So any applications in the system, any of the people who've got, say for example, who've got plan changes coming through the system might think that applies to them, and that's certainly not the intention. It would need to be subdivision consent applications or engineering plan approvals that are in the system. But I would also, I'm very cautious about being too prescriptive in that, because that could, that's exactly the sort of thing. Our intention would be, yes, if there was something that's in the system in terms of a subdivision consent or engineering plan approval, then we would be unlikely to require the 1 in 100 year. But just some of these consents have very long lifetimes and multiple cycles, and it's very, once you start putting in something very prescriptive like that, developers are very good at finding ways to work around that as well.
Could I make a comment? Is the reason for this is really to mitigate what we're experiencing in Mandeville now, where the developers did not adequately do stormwater drainage to look after the properties there. So is this some way that we can protect future growth and stormwater away to avoid this sort of thing happening again?
This is one of the tools, I would say. So we've already, I think some of that development that happened in Mandeville, we just would not allow that to happen today.
Right.
Some of this is actually clarifying what we're, the part that we're talking about, just making sure that when we're assessing off-site effects, just giving more design is that they need to be comprehensive in the way that they do that. But yes, of course, having higher standards for the conveyance and attenuation of stormwater will definitely go a long way to addressing the sorts of things that we've got in Mandeville at the moment.
Thank you. Councillor Mearings?
I'm just happy to, I'd like to test the meeting.
Sorry?
I would like to test the meeting and move.
All right, thank you. Then, do we have a seconder? I'll second it. So would you like to speak?
Thank you. I am reasonably satisfied with what we've discussed here with the amendments to the motion, that it covers those that are kind of stuck in the system. I note that our council is behind the majority of councils in what we're requiring of these standards as we are right now. And I'm less worried about upsetting the odd developer than I am about building homes that are meant to last for the next 50 to 100 years in the middle of a changing climate with undersized engineering for their safety and well-being of their homes in a more often flooding environment. This report says in section 4.3.12 that it rightfully points out that a 20% AEP storm event using today's rainfall data will be greater than a 20% AEP using rainfall data from 20 years ago. And I think we've all seen that. We've seen how something that's called an 18% AEP floods a road that we've never seen flooded before. I've seen it in my own community. These events that we're getting them more frequently. The severity of the duration is more. So these 20%, e.g., 1 in 5 year or whatever, they're happening a lot more often than that. And in the upper end of these events are a lot greater in intensity and the result. And I cannot, in good faith, put people in harm's way by building brand new houses, which they should have a reasonable expectation should not be flooded. I cannot, in good conscience, whenever we have in this meeting right here today, have the opportunity, the power to actually change that so that these new homes that will house our people will actually be safer, warmer, and drier for longer. So I have absolutely no problem whatsoever in supporting this. And I think that any good developer would be quite happy to, well, maybe not necessarily happy, but would understand what is at stake here, rather than for a little bit extra profit and to put aside something that the legacy of the development they're putting down for the next probably 100 years is actually going to stand and last and be good for the people that will call it home. So I hope you'll support this motion.
I would also hope that you will support this motion because, like Councillor Mearings, I think we need to protect the future and not have the situation that we're in with Mandeville. Ahoka Mandeville now, by down the road, with any large development not actually adequately providing for sufficient stormwater drainage into the right areas and to protect further downstream like Kaipoi and further downstream. So I'm hoping that you will support this because, and I also feel that we need to trust our staff that they will act in good faith and with discretion with developers and do the right thing and talk and compromise where it's applicable. Where it's not, then it's really for the future down the road. So I'm going to support this as well. Any other speakers? Councillor Williams?
Yes, I'm actually really concerned about this immediate effect. We've had this before on some developers, not on the stormwater side, but on other situations, and all of a sudden they'll be put into no man's land because of it. They've already applied and all that drama, so, and there's over 30 developers being put into that no man's land and be sitting like that for several years already. So I just feel that there maybe need to be a wee bit more education for us to know what's happening, and we've had some knowledge there that maybe some of the developers are being asked to upgrade here, but some of them possibly aren't. So I don't know how many developers are going to get caught out by this. How many developers are going to get caught out in this, and is it going to be a major thing for some of the developers that have already drawn up their plans, have spent tens of thousands of dollars on engineering stuff and everything as well, and all of a sudden we change it halfway through their big expenses. So I'm a wee bit tithering without a wee bit more information on how many developers it's going to affect, number one, and the flow-on effect of it. Saying that, I am 100% saying our standards probably, well, they do need to be improved for drainage. No ifs or buts about that. We need to have better drainage around the whole area. But there is an effect on some of the developers that may have done everything due diligence right up to standards and going to get caught by it. So that's my concerns.
Gerard?
Look, they are exactly the concerns that the proposed resolution is to address. So it's to talk to any existing consents or multi-stage developments to allow discretion to consider those things. So you're always going to have this issue, and I know it certainly isn't as hard as slamming the door, but the immediate effect because that actually shut the door on any applications that had not been approved. This actually gives us discretion to do that. The other counter risk is you have a gold rush. If you give notice on this, the risk is you'll have a rush of applications that come in so that they are captured before the change, and that might, we're behind in our current code of practice, and this is bringing us up to standard. So, and realistically, it doesn't actually make that much difference to a developer when they're doing the design. It might be a pipe size here that has to be a bit bigger or a little bit better attenuation. It's not, it's an incremental change in terms of their costs, rather than, I know the scenario you're referring to effectively where applicants got the door slammed on them even after they put consents, and that is the intention to have a discretion.
That was still part of my debate. That was actually the same words that were given to us at Gold Rush when we made that original decision on subdivisions, and that's what scares me tremendously. Would it be possible have discretion in there from yourself and come to councillors at a meeting to make that discretion need be? Because
I think we let the staff do their work, so I think let them come. I'm sorry, I don't.
And let's not forget this is all within a regulatory process anyway.
Yes.
So ultimately, the discretion that the council does pass delegation through to the general manager of planning and regulation to assess consents on an effects basis. So, and at times, some of those decisions are brought to council rather than using staff delegation. So I don't think you need to specifically allow anything.
Councillor Bryan, do you have anything to say?
No, I can you hear me now?
Yes, can hear you now.
Yeah, I won't be doing much talking, Madam Chair. I've got no breath, but no, I'm going to support the motion. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Councillor Redmond. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll be supporting this motion. It's something that personally I wanted to see for about 3 years. I think the change is long overdue, and I think we've been dragging the chain. I was unaware that other councils were years ahead of us. So I think it's timely. we've experienced firsthand, as other speakers have said, the more frequent, more intense rain events and so on.
Yeah.
So we do have to address those. So we're really looking at recalibrating the system.
Yeah, we've got to start somewhere, don't we?
We do. So it's an increased design standard. Unlike, and I did ask about immediate legal effect that we look at in terms of district plan provisions, this is a little different in that we are actually giving staff a discretion. So we won't get into the same position we did with the district plan. So I'm happy that staff will exercise their discretion professionally and fairly. And there are going to be cases where discretion is needed. Stage developments, you can't have bigger pipes somehow draining into the subdivision with smaller pipes, and there will be those sort of inconsistencies. So there will always be issues with transitional provisions when we change the rules. So, but I think this is a change that we do need to make. And if, as far as I'm concerned, if the application for a subdivision consent isn't in the system, then the new rules must apply, because that's for the benefit and betterment of everyone. So I'm very pleased, and when I first read this, I wrote one word: excellent. So
there you go.
good things come to those who wait. So I think it is good, and in the long run, I hope it'll be a huge improvement and lessen your workload, Kelly.
Thank you. Rachel, thank you, Councillor.
Thank you. Some very good questions and very good comments made here. Look, I'd like to give our staff and our development community out here a little bit of credit. I give the staff credit for exercising good discretion, and I would like to hope that we could give credit to our development community that they would like to build once and build right and leave a good legacy. Otherwise, if we don't do that, we're opening the door for some to internalize the profits and externalize the costs to the detriment of our ratepayers. And that is not an outcome that I think any of us want to see. And by adjusting these standards, we will hopefully be right-sizing the system to make it fit for the future. So, well done, and absolutely support this. Thanks.
Thank you. I think we've talked through this enough, so I'll put it to the vote now. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Against? Carried. Thank you, Kelly and team, for all your good work, and hoping that this will improve our future concerns about water and stormwater retention and flooding. So well done. Now we go to portfolio updates. Rhodey, Councillor. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. These always come around very quickly. Right. The construction season is progressing, and if you've travelled around the South Island, as I have recently, you'll see a lot of resealing and work occurring. And my wife said to me, why do they do this at the busy time of the year when everyone's travelling? And I was able to explain that it comes down to the weather and temperature and so on. So the same has been occurring in this district with resealing continuing. 7 sites were completed in January and February. Pre-seal repairs and heavy maintenance have been underway on Plaskett Road, Lowburn, White Rock Road and Oxford Roads. These sites will all have a full reseal follow over the next 1 to 2 months. And that has caused me to receive some complaints, shall we say, from residents who don't understand the process. They see these pre-seal repairs being done and think they're substandard and complain that we're wasting money, we're not doing it properly. They don't really understand that it's part of a process and that the work isn't actually finished. So hopefully when these works are finished, those complaints that I receive will stop. Mowing has been ongoing at a high frequency around the district. Its growth has continued to be high with the wetter rather than drier summer period. Pavement rehabilitation works are underway in Mill Road, Ahoka, and are progressing very well, slightly ahead of time. And this work is being carried out in 3 stages to reduce impacts on the community. And there is no conspiracy here. These works are unrelated to any plan changes in the area and have been programmed for some time, contrary to some social media comments. Stage 1 is the section between Bradley's Road and White's Road. The next stage is White's Road and Wilson's Drive. And for stage 2 works, the road will be open on a Friday to ensure good access to the Oxford market continues. Sorry, the Ahoka, I said Oxford. Yeah, to the Ahoka market continues, so I'm sure that's very important to some people. Capital Works, Riverside Road seal extension is progressing well. Construction and sealing is also completed in 2 stages, as it's a fairly long length. The first length has been formed and sealed, and the second stage is planned for sealing in late February. This will complete that project. The Curb renewal contract has begun with the first site starting in Ashgrove Street. EDR contracting are making good progress and are expected to complete this first site within 2 weeks. Work will then move on to Alfred Street, Stephen Street and Edward Street. Each site to follow on from the previous. This contract is expected to be complete in early May. Kippenberger Avenue urbanisation and the new Eastbelt footpath contract has been awarded to Pigeon Contracting, and work is expected to begin on the 24th of February, which is yesterday. Minor safety improvements involving upgrading of signs at high-risk intersections have been underway. This is to improve safety at approximately 10 intersections which have a high crash record and risk. And I think I could say, Joanne, that the warning signs at Skew Bridge are going to be looked at, that someone has, Joanne's informed me when I'm quiet about it, stolen the motherboard and the batteries. So those warning lights are no longer operative at the moment. Other works, asphalt surfacing is planned for Ahoka Road between the Island Road intersection and the bridge west of Giles Road. This is the last section of the new arterial road, which you'll know is adjacent to Silver Stream, that still has a chip seal surface. The renewal will be done in asphalt, which will also keep the noise levels down for adjacent properties. Staff are currently working with the contractor on traffic management details, and a letterbox drop will be carried out with residents and comms put on the website, and that work's planned for next month, March. Raven Key Kaiapoi is currently closed between William Street and Black Street for upgrades to the stormwater. I guess this is more my colleague's area, but it does affect the road. I'm hoping that work will be finished by Anzac Day when the RSA hold their service on Raven Key. The installation of a water main along Rangiora Wooding Road. There's temporary traffic management in place there. There's tree removal on Smarts Road, which is closed between Coldstream Road and Rangiora Wooding Road. And the new street light maintenance contract has been awarded to Power Jointing Limited, which was essentially a local business. And they were based just south of the old Waimakariri Bridge and had a number of local people involved. Events, the primary school sports triathlon is being held at the Spark Farm Lake on Tuesday, that's today, and a road closure will be in place to accommodate that event. So that's probably on now, I suspect, or very shortly. So that's it from me.
Thank you, Philip. Any questions of Philip? Thank you, Paul.
Just with the batteries and the stuff we pinched from the bridge sign, is it worthwhile now looking at, because it seems to be happening all around New Zealand, all those type of things have been, you can put a high pitched screamer if somebody actually opens one of those doors to break it through, and they can be turned off by the contractor just with a wee key turn on and off. So if somebody cuts the lock or something and opens the door, all of a sudden there's a real high pitched squealing noise that comes off the batteries, and that could be a big deterrent for people to run and not doing it, because you get them so it's really ear piercing. So I wonder if we should look at that for future when we do type of things. I don't think the systems are very expensive, but the contractor has a wee key that turn it off before he opens the door. It can't be, if you try to do that in a bad way, well, the alarm goes off automatically. So I don't know if we've looked at that type of thing, but just a thought.
Maybe something Joanne could comment on, but I know there aren't really many residential properties in the immediate vicinity.
Look, we'll be keen to explore any measures that we can undertake to improve the security of any of our assets, whether they be trying to make them hard to get into, or putting deterrents like alarms or cameras and that sort of thing. Look, it's not just isolated to this, it's a lot of our sites we're aiming to improve security over, so that's a good suggestion.
Do we have similar battery powered signage elsewhere in the district?
Yes, we've got.
And if so, has it been a problem with those?
Normally the batteries are housed in the actual signs unit up on the pole. The difference with these signs is because they are active more often, they needed 2 lithium batteries, which were housed in, so they couldn't both be housed in the actual sign unit. They needed to be kept in a separate little cabinet on the side of the road, which is where they are on both bridges. So they are a little different than our other installations in that way. Most people don't climb a pole. They wouldn't climb a pole, I don't think, to try and get one, but I think because they are at ground level, they're a little bit more accessible.
So the people who are stealing them must have some knowledge, because I would never have thought of stealing batteries, to be honest.
Yeah, but biggest belief, to be honest. But anyway, here you go, that is what it is.
Just for clarification, these alarms, it doesn't matter whether it's public around, it's piercing and you have to run. It's here.
Can you dump stick on them and some paint at the
Thank
same
you,
time?
Philip.
That'd be good.
Right, we go now to drainage, stop water, 3 waters, drinking water, sewer and stormwater councillor. Thank you.
Right, there was a meeting with the Kaipori River Preservation Society last week, which was attended by some Waimakariri District Council and Town councillors and staff. The issues they raised were wide ranging, but their focus is on protecting and improving the Kaipori River. In particular, they raised concerns over herbicide used by both councils and sludge and avian botulism management at the Kaipori wastewater treatment plant. Staff are currently working on a response to this group and also determine if they can be the most appropriate forum to engage with this group. The UV systems at Pegasus, Domain, Cracky and Darnley water treatment plants are now in full operational. The UV system at South Brock Remuera has required additional modification to the control system and will now be operational by the end of March. The West End UV installation works has commenced on site and the contractor is currently working on the building and the site works. I hope he's there at the moment because I was there the other week and apparently there's no builders on site or doing anything, so a wee bit of concern there. The land for the Ahoka water treatment plant upgrade has been acquired and the tender for the UV installation works on the site will go out in the next 2 weeks. There's been an increase in the number of dead birds collected at the wastewater treatment plants over the last 3 months. This is a minor outbreak with numbers collected less than last year. The frequency of bird collection has been increased to help reduce the spread of avian botulism. This was one of the matters raised at the recent meeting at the Kaiapoi River Conservation Society. Construction of the septic disposal facility is progressing well and is expected to be commissioned in March. The Raven Quay works covering wastewater, water and stormwater pipe upgrades has commenced on site. Staff are working to minimise the disruption to businesses and shops in this area. Council and the Ahuka Mandeville Drainage Advisory Group held a workshop last week where the drainage staff received feedback on both stage 1 and stage 2 of the Mandeville Resurgent project. Staff will obtain sign-off from the Mayor before proceeding with consultation in the coming months. The second round of the drainage advisory groups for the year have commenced. Good feedback was received last week from the Oxford Drainage Advisory Group, and there is the Ahuka Mandeville this week. We will get their views on the works in the lower Ahuka stream catchment to spend the additional 50k maintenance budget on. There was a meeting with residents last week in West Earton regarding Stockwater race maintenance. It turned out this race was wrongly classified and should be maintained by Waimakariri Limited. Staff are following up with well on the maintenance frequency and standard for this particular race. It is intended that the maintenance responsibilities for the people who don't use the race will be discussed at the next water race meeting, advisory group meeting. So that's it for me for now.
Any questions of Councillor Williams? Councillor Hayes?
Just regarding the West Earton race, unfortunately I wasn't able to get to that meeting, so that report of the outcome of that is from Jason.
Citizen Jason, and an apology was put in at the meeting for yourself and Tim.
Thank you very much. Next one is solid waste. Thank you, Bobby. Councillor Brian.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As I mentioned, I'm going to be pretty brief. I have managed to get a doctor's appointment today, thank God, but I suspect it's pneumonia again. There is a solid and hazardous waste working party meeting on Friday. It didn't go out in the memo from the governance team last week, but it is on at 9 AM and hopefully I'll be better by then. You'll recall I got asked 3 questions at the last UNR meeting. Tim Fulton asked if there's a mobility access policy. Yes, there is, and it's currently being reviewed. Councillor Cairns asked for an update for Council on the auditing of recycling bins, and it resulted in less contamination. The short answer to that is yes, it has, but we've still got some major issues with regard to nappies and soft plastics. Councillor Williams raised the issue of the trees on the south side. My niece did go and contact the property owners prior to Christmas. It sounds like it's a trust, and it's not going to be quite so easy to resolve because, of course, the trees are on their property. All these things, well, in particular those trees, Kitty has put together an agenda for Friday's meeting, and I rang her this morning and said, look, there's nothing undiligent. She was going to email governance team and see if it can be put into diligent. So I hope that's enough from me, Madam Chair, and there's not too many questions. Thanks.
Thank you, Bobby. I hope you're going to feel better soon and you're getting the right treatment. So any questions of Bobby, Councillor Mearings?
Hi Robbie, sorry to hear you're not feeling well. That solid hazardous waste working group, right, meeting isn't in the diaries either. You're sure that it's supposed to be this coming Friday?
Yep.
Because there's nothing in the diary either, and I'm on that group with you. So, we've got to get some people to look into that quickly.
Well, it's Friday, 5th of March, isn't it?
Oh, not this Friday.
Friday.
Oh, no, so it's the following Friday, 5th of March.
But the
Sorry.
5th of March is, well, yes, it is in the 5th of March.
Yeah, 5th of March.
Sorry, I thought you were saying this, Wednesday, the 5th of March at 9 a.m. Okay, that makes sense. That is, thank you.
Yep.
You said it was coming this Friday, I got confused, so thank you.
No, I'm confusing myself. I've got another meeting at 9 on Friday.
Thank you.
Sorry about that.
That's all right. Any other further questions? Thank you for your report, Transport. Mayor Dan. Dan's not with us at the moment, so we'll just give that one a miss. So now we'll go on to 7.1. Matters referred from the Regulatory Community Board. Thank you, Karen. And Joanne.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So the report in front of you today is seeking approval of the no stopping lines that are required with the installation of the proposed pedestrian refuge on South Belt. That refuge item was previously approved as part of the Minor Works program and also previously consulted on and approved as part of the Transport Choices project that didn't get to proceed. We spoke with all the residents during that consultation of Transport Choices and then again prior to approval of this report when it came through the board. The design of the refuge is the same as it was for the Transport Choices project, so it has been future-proofed, and regardless of whether that cycleway ever goes ahead, this location was important for pedestrians. That's due to the proximity of the Somerset Retirement Village, the dairy, Southbrook Park, and the parking road. And noting also that that design includes a right turn bay into King Street. Yeah, any questions on that?
Doesn't appear to be any questions, I don't think. I think it's been well communicated and discussed, so if there's no further questions, I'm happy to move that the recommendation, so who would like to second it? Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Meadows. I know that this has been well researched and discussed with the Community Board, so I'm happy to approve this recommendation. So I hope everyone else will as well. Thanks, Councillor Meadows. Right. Any other further comments, Councillor Williams?
I will be supporting this because it's been passed by the Community Board, but again, heaps of car parks keep getting taken away from areas where they're needed around my area, and it just seems to be a consistent thing. Every time something happens, 4 or 5 car parks there, taking them away. So I am really concerned because in this area where the sports are running, there are lack of car parks already there, and I've got a bee in my bonnet. As everybody knows, car parking keeps getting removed all the time in Waimakariri, and be quite honest, car parks are important to have because in Waimakariri people have to travel distances to get there, and they've got to come by car. You haven't got public transport, and I know it's a safety thing here, but it's car park removed is a bit of a bug for me.
Thank you. Councillor Redmond.
More of a question, Madam Chair. I note in 7.2, and I realise we're doing 7.1, that it referred to the residents having been consulted, but there's no similar provision in 7.1. Were the residents consulted and are they happy with?
In 7.1?
Yeah.
Yes, so that they were consulted as part of the Transport Choices program, and then prior to the Rangiora board meeting we touched base with the board again, so yes they have been.
Right, so that, happy. Right, thank you.
This has been a long time coming. It has been consulted on. It does make sense to make a safe place for people to cross, particularly because this can be a busy area with sports and whatnot, and cars do park up and down all of those roads all around there. Losing a couple car parks, whilst I understand it can be a cause of concern, just out of shot here in this report is the parking ride, new parking that has been put in there. So I'm not as concerned about the loss of these two car parks as, say, what might have been if it was in another area, because we have actually added a lot of car parking in this area. So I'm happy for this to proceed, and I'm sure it's been hashed out at length with the community board. So thank you.
That's all good. All those in favour of this recommendation, please say aye. Aye. Against? Carried. Thank you, Kira. And then we also go with Joanne now onto 7.2, which is Kappenberger Avenue. So once again, the Rangiora Ashley Community Board consider this report at its meeting on the 11th of December. So it's over to you, Joanne or Karen.
So this report also, as you mentioned, was tabled to the Rangiora Board in December. It follows an earlier report back in 2022 where the board and UNR approved the scheme design that included bus stops, but those were not specifically included within the recommendation. Therefore, this report sought approval of the installation of 2 bus stops for Route 97. It also included provision for on-street parking bays, noting that currently there is no parking. There's no stopping lines, and parking on the berm is not permitted. At the Rangiora board meeting, we also talked about ECAN with the changes or the review of Route 97. So at that Rangiora board meeting, recommendations J, K and L that are in front of you today were added. The intention of those amendments was to future-proof the report so that when the bus route is confirmed, those bus stops could be implemented quickly and efficiently without returning to the board or UNR committee. As there'd be a risk that would be seen to be removing on-street parking. I guess that would be the summary of this report, and I'd also just note that Councillor Williams mentioned that construction was starting possibly today. I believe that has been pushed through to next week. Oh, sorry.
Alright, thank you for that. Any questions, Kieran? We're all pretty happy as this has been another one that's been well talked through and thought through and talked about. So without any further ado, all those in favour of this, please say aye.
You know, please.
Oh, sorry. Would you like to move then, Paul?
I wouldn't, because we're losing more parks.
Well, could I please have a mover? I'll move then. We can second it, please. Thank you. Councillor Redmond? No. All those in favour, please say aye.
We've got a debate on it.
Are you going to debate it?
I want a question on it.
All right, well, you ask a question then.
I will support this here, but again, when you mention there's no car parks being lost, I do have been to funerals in that area myself, and those grass verges are very heavily parked on, so we are actually removing more car parks away from that area, which is going to turn into a bit of a problem. Hopefully people will be able to park a wee bit down the new streets outside the houses, so I'm not that concerned on that particular area, but again, we're losing car parks again, so I'm really concerned on that, and people do park on that grass.
Right, okay, so now we're all happy? Otherwise...
Is the mover going to?
Yes.
Speak?
Me, thank you. Okay. Once again, this has been well thought through and well talked about, so I'm just happy to make sure that we pass this recommendation. Councillor Redmond, would you like to comment?
Thank you. Yes, seconded. the motion, I'll speak to it in support. The recommendations, as Karen has alluded to, are slightly different from the original report, in that there are 3 new ones, I, J and K, which have been added. And in some ways, they actually make A, B and C a bit redundant. But anyhow, I think I get the intention. Really, that none of this work is to occur until the bus routes have been finalised, and that's pretty sensible. So obviously the board had a thorough looking at this and came up with those additional recommendations. So on that basis, I'm happy to support it. I also don't like losing car parks either, but I mean, if you're going to create a bus stop, you are going to lose a car park. So I don't think there's much we can do about that. So I'll be supporting it.
That's good. I'm really quite pleased that actually they've added those 3, I, J and K, which saves time and energy. It's forward thinking, strategic thinking. Well done. That's what I say. So all those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Against? Carried. Thank you, Karen. The next one is the Kirimuru Underpass, Joanne. So this is following also the actually Community Board report and remediation.
I will actually keep this very brief because this is a subject that we have canvassed with the Utilities and Roading Committee previously. I'm not sure if you do your minds back, we had a workshop with UNR last year to discuss the issues with the underpass, the investigations that had been carried out, and then also the likely recommendation for decommissioning. We took a report to the Remuneration Community Board, which recommended that in December, and therefore this is now for consideration of Utilities and Roading Committee. I'm happy to take any questions. Any questions?
Councillor Williams will move and I'll second it. Councillor Williams.
Yes, I'll move in this one because I'm not raising any car park, so I'm quite happy, and there was a water problem there, so it needs to be done as soon as possible, so thank you.
And I'm happy to second this because I did ask the question about it at our discussion. I'm happy with the answer and let you guys do the work, and so thank you very much. So all those, Councillor Redmond, you'd like to speak?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. I'll be supporting this, although I think it's unfortunate that the solution couldn't have been worked out to retain it as an underpass, because we do have connectivity issues in various areas like Pegasus roundabout at Ravenswood. An underpass like this would have been ideal.
This one plus.
Yes, so that's the problem with this one. So it looks like the developer gains the limit. So the cost is now falling on the council to decommission it. It would have been preferable, I guess, if we didn't take it over. Notwithstanding, anyhow, we've got it. So it appears not fit for purpose. So we are going to have to get rid of it. It's just unfortunate it comes at a significant cost.
Thank you for your thoughts. Okay, Doug.
Right, reply?
Yes, of course.
That question was actually asked thoroughly at the community board about what have you, whether we can use it or not. So there's quite a bit of debate on that. So I myself was personally happy with the answers on it because it's too water prone, and we've had an undertaking by staff that any more underpasses would be at a cost neutral to the council if they have to be closed up in future. So there is a long-term scenario to fix that problem.
Thank you. So all those in favour then of accepting this recommendation, please say aye.
Aye.
Against? Carried. Thank you. Thank you, Joanne. Thank you, all of you, for your work. So now we go to matters referred from the Kaipō Te Ohiwi Community Board, and so it's Karen again, and Joanne.
one's a little bit more fresher in my mind than I went to ATCB last week. This report is seeking approval of the scheme design and a short length of no stopping on Charles Street. The design takes into account board feedback from a workshop held on the 18th of December. It widens the footpath outside the NZ Post building, and in order to achieve that, the extra width has come from the painted median, which will be reduced to 2 metres, and a reduction in the traffic lane width. The design also includes the loss of one car park, and that car park loss is due to the widening and the relocation of the NZ Post vehicle crossing. So that's work that's led by NZ Post, and they are entitled to make those changes to their vehicle entrance. The parking space that's impacted by that work is one of the mobility parks. So the design is seeking the approval to relocate that mobility park further east outside Paris for the weekend. There was some debate at the KTCB meeting about whether that was the correct location for that mobility park, but in the end they did approve the report as per the staff recommendations. And the recommendations regarding the parking restrictions will be taken through the DPNR this afternoon. So, any questions?
Councillor Evans.
Thank you, Kieran. You're having a busy morning. The relocation of the either access or egress of the NZ Post car park, that's the reason for that is NZ Post want to relocate it.
Correct, yeah, so they were in touch with us about, I'm not actually sure what went first, but yeah, we've got wind of their project, and so we've designed our design in conjunction with their planning works.
Right, so when a property owner wants to change their access way, who pays for the change?
So in this particular case, because we're going to be redoing the curb and the footpath out the front, they will only be paying for the extra over cost associated with doing that. So, for example, if we're widening their vehicle entrance by 2 metres, and I'm not sure if that is the exact number, they would be liable for the extra over cost to put the commercial beam in and the commercial vehicle entrance. The rest of the cost we would be doing anyway, so it's certainly beneficial for them to tie their work in with us.
Right, so they are contributing. That was
yes.
My main point. Secondly, I know you're changing the disability park from P15 to P120. That's a long time. I realise the reason for changing it, but is P120 appropriate, or would a lesser period be preferable?
So interestingly, you're talking about the western of the west, the one in the front of the
post office, where
yeah, so that one's actually currently unrestricted. So the P15 starts immediately next to it. So initially, in my discussions with Luke Lee, we were going to recommend P15, but due to the mobility and the extra time that some people would take, we decided that a P30 would be more appropriate. And then as part of that discussions, we actually said, no, let's make that a 120 as well. So there was quite a discussion around that.
And I think that P120 is more consistent with what we have in and around Rangiora for some of our mobility parks. Just noting that it does allow for people to maybe visit the extra shop, which might be a little bit further away while they're here.
What's the purpose of those P15 parks?
I'm not sure on the background of when they became P15, but basically they're high turnover car parks. So you've got an ATM there, the post shop, sort of place that people go in for short periods of time.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, yeah.
When we lose a car park because of a developer wants to move a driveway, who pays for the loss of that car park? Because we've had parking in before, and in a retail environment, those parks are valued at about $4 million per park over time. So does the developer contribute to losing a car park in that area? Or was it? I know the answer probably.
No. So, we have got rules, about where people can vehicle crossings and how big they can be, and that sort of thing. That's how we consider those applications. We will not have, I don't believe there's any mechanism we could use that would allow us to charge because there'd be some kind of subsequent loss of the car park on the road.
Okay, so do we have a mover and a seconder? Mover, Councillor Redmond, seconded by me. How about that? Councillor Redmond.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I wasn't at the Kaiapoi Tuahiwi Community Board when this was discussed, so I don't have the background apart from the reports here, but it looks as though the board has considered this. My only wonder was whether NZ Post contributed to the costs. I don't think we'll be getting millions of dollars off them for a car park loss, but and secondly, whether P120 was a bit too long for an area that does have a high turnover. I think that area originally was designed, it's been angle parking in P15, I think, for as long as I can remember, and I used to get the mail there back in the 80s. It's designed for people to pop in their car, get the mail, if mail will still exist in future, and depart. So I think your design looks very appropriate and will make it a little safer with the footpath area. Whether a disabled person needs 2 hours parking there in a prime spot could be debated, but given that it's apparently unrestricted already, I guess this is an improvement. So on that basis, I'm happy to support the recommendation of the Kaiapoi Tuahiwi Community Board.
Thank you. Any other speakers? Oh, so all those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against? Carried. Thank you, Karen. Thank you, Joanne. So any questions on standing orders? Any general business? Oh, so number 11, matters to be considered with the public excluded. We just need that the public be excluded from the following parts of proceedings of this meeting, 9.1 and 9.2, which is confirmation of the minutes and curtain channels. So we're going to now go into public excluded. So do I have a mover and a seconder? Mover, Councillor Mealing, seconder, Councillor Redmond. So now we will go into public excluded. So
just Kate, just checking, are we offline?
Are we offline? Yes. Okay.
Councillor Brian won't hear us.
Okay, all right.
Just is Councillor Brian still online?
Yes, he is, but just